Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about no budget marketing. Alright, so today's topic comes to you from Abby Dabby, who last week on episode 124 simply said, next video, no budget marketing tips. Right? And then when I didn't do that for the next video, he immediately was very persistent and said, hey Eric, we need more tips on how to market our apps with little or no budget. We are not billionaires like you. Billionaires? Billionaires? You know, I know I shouldn't have showed you that car, right? Look, I'm just getting by just like everybody. I know you were just kidding, right? So, but it kind of, that's the first time anybody ever called me a billionaire, and I kind of like it. I feel like I could go out and fight some crime, right? So, the reason why I don't talk about this that much is because I'm not an expert. But what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about my opinions on this, some things that I've tried, some things that I haven't tried, and all that kind of stuff. So first, let me say that I do not like to spend money on advertising. I hate it, right? It's every dollar I spend on advertising or marketing is a dollar I'd rather be spending on something else, right? Because let's say if I buy the new iPhone and I invest the same amount of money in that iPhone or in the advertisements, I know that the iPhone's going to show up. Well, the ads, you never quite know. It's always kind of iffy. You're trying new things. You try to put stuff out in front of people. So whenever possible, I try not to spend any money on marketing at all, right? And there's, you know that we live in imagine we're back in 1980, and in order to market anything to anybody you either had to send them a letter, put something on television, or put it on the radio. And now you've got social media all over the place. You've got people saying that they're interested in your product, and all you have to do is reach out to them, right? It's crazy the way that we are. So the way that I think about this is that just like with developing an app, you're either going to have to spend time or you're going to have to spend money, right? So like if you do an app, say you're either going to have to hire somebody to do it for you, or you're going to have to learn how to do it and just code away and do it yourself, right? It's just the way it is. The same with advertisements. You're either going to pay to use somebody else's audience, or you're going to have to put in the time to build your own. And what I mean by that is every time you're doing advertisements, you're basically using somebody else's audience. Like, in my opinion, I can't think of any exceptions to this. If you do, let me know, right? So you're either going to, like, you could use influencer marketing, so you can find somebody on social media who's built a huge following, a huge audience, probably without a marketing budget too, right? And you might pay them a little bit of money, or just try to persuade them to mention your product, and then they'll talk about it, and then if it's relevant to their audience, right? And that's one way of doing it. I've never done that, but I know people who have. Or you pay to put ads in like AdMob or Facebook or whatever, and what you're doing is you're putting advertisements into applications of other apps that have built an audience, right? So to try to get some of that into you. So that's the shortcut approach, right? Trying to bring those in. Of course, if you have an advertisement, no matter how much you pay for it, if it's not good enough, it's not going to result in anything. In fact, okay, I'm going to tell you this, even though it's personally embarrassing to me, right? Just this weekend. So the last few weeks we've been doing something different. This is a tangent, but kind of related, right? We've been doing t-shirts. So we've been doing like spreadshirt t-shirts. So we got our designer Sandy. She's been, she's just churning out material. She is prolific. She's the Prince of art or whatever, right? So I don't mean Prince like Prince the artist, right? She's just prolific. Prince was a prolific artist, so she's constantly putting out material, right? So we're trying to think of new places to put it. So we did this t-shirt shop. So we got these really nice looking t-shirts on Spreadshirts, and I've never done anything like this before. I thought, well, try something new. So I created these Facebook ads, right? And I spent, I put a budget on Facebook, and I spent about 50 pounds. That was it, 50 pounds on Facebook this weekend, right? And putting ads out there, thousands of impressions, right? And do you know how many t-shirts we sold? Guess. None. You're just like 50 pounds, just right? I wish I could take it back, but you don't know. So anyway, so it's just the way that you learn, right? But I didn't have to go that way, but I kind of wanted to take that shortcut route, right? And that's just the way it is. I've seen other YouTube people, like app people, who say, you could market your app for as little as $500. And I think, $500? Come on, right? I don't want to spend $500 on that, right? So, but you know, like if I was certain that I spent $500 and I make 1,000 back, then yeah, I'd do it. But I'm never that certain, and it's never actually worked out for me, right? The other side of things is, so you either pay for advertisements and you're basically using somebody else's audience, or you try to build your own audience, right? So you could do that through various methods on social media. You know, you could publish anything you want. You could put, you know, you've got all the different social media channels, and you can start learning how to use those, right? Other people are able to make it work. You can make it work. It just means learning a whole bunch of new things, and even then, I'm constantly still learning that kind of stuff. So, you know, to give you an example of some of the things we do a lot of blog content and a lot of, you know, like articles and stuff like that, which would be kind of related to what we're talking about. So, you know, so I mean, well, first of all, in order to build your audience, you have to know who your audience is. So you have to, you know if you don't have anybody coming into your app, you have to have an idea of who they are. So for me, the language learning games is really simple, right? So if it's the Japanese learning games, it would be somebody who wants to learn Japanese, or somebody who's currently studying Japanese, or somebody who plans on going to Japan, right? And based on analytics and Facebook, putting the Facebook SDKs in there, I could see demographics of who's actually downloading the app. So then as we start to get a bit of traffic, I can start to fine tune that a little bit more. Now, if you have something that's not that simple, let's say you have a game, let's say you have a puzzle game, right? That's something I'm not quite sure, but I would imagine that you would look at a similar game that has a larger audience and think, you know, what kind of audience are they using? Because those users may be interested in your application too. So like if I had a game that was like say Candy Crush or something like that, say it's a, you know, a 3-in-a-row game, I might say, you know, people who like Candy Crush would really like this game. You know, that was a big inspiration for me, so you know, that might be who I want to target. So I could do, so if that was the case, unlike the language learning games, by the way, language learning topics are, top 5 places to go in China, you know, how to master the 4 tones, you know, in the language, top 5, top 10 Chinese cuisines. You know, there's loads of things you could do there. You know, the hardest, you know, even personal stories, you know, the hardest things I found learning Chinese, all this kind of stuff, the kind of stuff that's not necessarily just go for, hey, download my app, that kind of stuff. So if you had something that was similar to Candy Crush, you could say, you know, my 5 favorite, you know, Candy Crush themes, how I mastered Candy Crush in one day, whatever. You could think of different things. You could talk about Candy Crush, and people who are interested in Candy Crush, if they're really interested in it, they might find that interesting, and they might actually look at it, as opposed to, hey, why you should download my app instead of Candy Crush, because that's never going to work, right? And it's difficult to talk in generalities because you can't really tell, you know, you kind of just have to massage things to see how they work, right? So we have the blog content that goes out, and we try to get that spread a little bit. Another thing we do is that when we do finally start getting some reviews in on our apps, we will take that and turn it into social media posts. So we'll do, we'll take like a really good review, and we'll put it into Canva, and we'll create some image quotes, and we can share that on Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook with like lots of tags. So if somebody's searching on it, they can find that kind of stuff and everything like that. But another thing that I do, and this one you might think is a little bit creepy, is going onto Twitter and just looking for who's searching for what you're looking for. Like I said, if somebody says, hey, I want to learn Chinese, or I've always wanted to learn Chinese, or I think learning Chinese is really hard, then I will reach out to them and say, I agree or I disagree or whatever, and just sort of start a conversation. But I don't do it from the Overpass Twitter account. I actually have like 20 different Twitter accounts, and I use TweetDeck to keep them all managed so I see what they are. So like if I reach out to somebody about Chinese Mandarin, we'll use the Learning Chinese Twitter account, which is Learn CH Mandarin, I think. And we have like RSS feeds and everything that's we always have content, aggregated content that goes out there too, so that it's not just the spamming vehicle. So when I reach out to somebody, I don't just say, hey, download my app, right? Because first of all, that's rude, and it's not very effective, right? Nobody's going to pay you any attention if you're just that guy. I mean, every woman knows somebody who's a creep, who just blurts out something, creepy, right, and not just have a normal conversation like people have. There's a really good book that came out a few years ago. I know you guys have probably already read it. It was Gary Vaynerchuk's Jab, 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 Right Hook, right, which is really good. It went through all the social media platforms at the time. Most of them are still relevant, I think. It's been a couple years since I read it. But the best thing about the book was the title, which is the whole premise of the book, which is you don't just go for the right hook all the time. Like a good boxer, they go for the jab, the jab, the jab, and then every so often the right hook. So you can't just do jabbing all the time. You never try to make the sell or never try to persuade them to download. But at the same time, you don't just jump in there like a lot of marketers do and say, hey, download my app. Like I've seen this a lot with like social media. Is this somebody goes on a social media and they just say, the first thing they say is, hey, buy my product. I've seen Twitter feeds like this where it's just say, hey, you should we have a sale going on now. Hey, we got this new special. Hey, we got this. It's always just about them, right? And even on LinkedIn, I get contacted. I get about, it seems like lately I get about 5 to 10 requests, connection requests on LinkedIn, which I accept all of them, by the way. Connect. If you guys need LinkedIn followers, connect with me, right? Because the more people you connect with on LinkedIn, the higher you get up in the search rankings and everything. When somebody's looking for something that you have, they're looking for app developer, I show up as a second degree connection instead of a third degree connection, so that it works in my favor to accept all connections. But as soon as you accept a connection from a lot of people, you immediately, almost within seconds, somebody will say, hey, Eric, we're a software development company and we blah, blah, blah. And it's basically saying why I should hire them rather than starting a conversation like you would with a normal person on the street. So anyway, I know this is, boy, I don't know if this is rambling on a little bit. I guess what I want to say is, you've seen other people build audiences, right? You know that it can be done. You just have to identify who you want to reach out to, right? It's different for everybody, right? The nice thing about social media and the way that information is spread now is that you're in a much more level playing field than you were before, even if you don't have a marketing budget, right? If you don't have a marketing budget, you're gonna have to spend a little bit more time, but it's also gonna be a lot more stable. And the key is just to get your app in front of as many people as possible. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm gonna talk to you guys tomorrow.